Imagine standing in a quiet grocery store aisle when a single scream turns every head, freezes every cart, and exposes how thin the line between normal and unacceptable really is. That was the moment this story began. And if you've ever thought, people wouldn't actually do that in public, stay with me, because what happened next shocked an entire store and changed one employee forever. It was a Tuesday evening, the kind of ordinary hour when fluorescent lights hum and everyone just wants to get home. A small neighborhood store, half full, nothing special. Parents comparing prices, an elderly man reading labels, a cashier counting change. Then a woman marched in, phone pressed to her ear, voice already raised, energy sharp enough to cut glass. At first it was background noise, another loud call in a public place. But volume is only the beginning of a problem. She paced the aisle, ignoring stares, ignoring the soft "excuse me" from a shopper she blocked. Her words grew uglier, spilling private accusations into shared air. People shifted uncomfortably. A child covered his ears. The cashier glanced toward the manager's office, unsure. This is where small choices matter, where behavior tests the rules we all silently agree to follow. When an employee politely approached her, asking if she could lower her voice or step outside, the temperature changed instantly. The call ended and the confrontation began. The woman turned, eyes blazing, and accused the worker of harassment. Phones appeared. Whispers spread. In seconds, a simple request became a public spectacle, and the store became a stage. No one stepped in yet. Fear kept people still. Cameras love chaos, and chaos loves crowds. The employee stood there, trained to smile, heart racing, knowing one wrong sentence could cost a job. The woman knew it too. Power shifted and everyone felt it. This isn't just about a loud customer. It's about what happens when entitlement meets boundaries, when public space becomes personal theater. What followed would divide opinions, spark arguments, and leave a lasting question. When does tolerance become silence? And silence become complicity? Before you decide where you stand, remember that every bystander carried a story home that night. Some felt ashamed for staying quiet. Some felt angry at the worker for enforcing rules. Others replayed the moment, wondering what courage should look like when eyes are watching. This channel doesn't chase outrage. It examines consequences. In the next chapter, you'll see how management reacted, how policies collided with emotions, and how a single incident rippled outward, affecting jobs, reputations, and trust. Stay focused because the smallest reactions often shape the biggest outcomes. These details matter and they will challenge assumptions you didn't realize you were carrying into this story from everyday public life. The manager arrived with practiced calm, the kind that comes from years of dealing with unhappy customers and knowing every move is being watched. He positioned himself between the employee and the woman, not as a shield but as a buffer, someone hoping to lower the heat before it exploded further. His voice was even, polite, carefully neutral. He asked what the issue was, though he already sensed it wasn't about groceries anymore. The woman launched into her version immediately. She spoke fast, loud, and with confidence sharpened by anger. According to her, the employee had embarrassed her, targeted her, and violated her rights as a paying customer. She gestured wildly, pointing toward phones now openly recording. Every sentence was designed not just to explain, but to dominate the narrative before anyone else could speak. In public conflicts, the first story often feels like the truth. The employee finally spoke, voice trembling but controlled. He explained the store policy about disruptive behavior, how he'd approached respectfully, how he only asked her to lower her voice. His words were careful, almost rehearsed because they had to be. One emotional slip could undo everything. The manager listened, nodding, weighing policy against perception. This wasn't just about who was right. It was about how the situation would look if it ended up online. Other customers started chiming in. One man said the woman had been yelling long before the employee came over. A mother quietly agreed, mentioning her child. But not everyone supported the worker. Another shopper muttered that employees should mind their business and let customers do what they want. The crowd divided, lines forming not physically but morally. The manager suggested a compromise. Finish the purchase quickly or step outside to continue any calls. It was reasonable, calm, and fair. The woman laughed. Not a soft laugh, but one meant to belittle. She accused the store of discrimination, of ganging up on her. She threatened corporate complaints, lawsuits, social media exposure. Each word tightened the knot in the room. That was the moment when management had to decide what kind of store this was going to be. One that bends to whoever shouts loudest, or one that protects employees and shared space. The manager took a breath and stood firm. He told her she would need to leave if she couldn't follow store policy. Silence followed, thick and heavy. The woman exploded. She slammed items onto the counter, cursed and stormed toward the exit, promising consequences. Doors swung shut behind her, but the tension didn't leave with her. It lingered in every aisle, in every glance exchanged between strangers who just witnessed something raw and uncomfortable. In the next chapter, we'll see what happened after the cameras stopped recording, how corporate responded, and how the single incident followed people long after the store lights dimmed. After the woman left, the store felt strangely quiet, like the moment after thunder when everyone waits to see what was struck. The manager asked the employee to step into the back office, not as punishment, but to document what had happened while details were still fresh. Policies require paperwork, timestamps, witness notes, and emotional neutrality, even when hands are shaking. Behind the door, the employee finally exhaled. Adrenaline drained, replaced by doubt. Had he said the wrong thing? Should he have ignored her entirely? The manager reassured him, explaining that policy existed for moments exactly like this, when shared spaces need boundaries. Still, reassurance does not erase fear. Viral videos do not care about policy manuals. Within hours, a clip appeared online. It didn't show the full context, only the confrontation's sharpest seconds. Comments flooded in, ruthless and fast. Some praised the employee for professionalism. Others attacked him, accusing him of abuse of power. A few threatened boycotts. Corporate headquarters noticed before midnight. The next morning, the manager received an email requesting a full report and surveillance footage. This is where reality diverges from outrage. Cameras showed the pacing, the yelling, the polite requests, the escalation. Witness statements backed the employee. Facts slow and unexciting, pushed against the viral narrative's emotional speed. Corporate decided to stand by the store. A carefully worded statement emphasized respect, safety, and policy. It pleased no one completely. The internet rarely rewards balance. The woman posted follow-up videos claiming victimhood, doubling down. Each post drew less sympathy but louder extremes. Inside the store, life resumed. Shelves were stocked. Registers rang. Yet something had shifted. Employees spoke more openly about fear and support. Customers were more aware of their volume, their words, their presence. One incident had rewritten unspoken rules. The employee kept his job, but he gained something heavier: awareness. He understood how quickly public behavior can become public judgment. He also learned that silence protects comfort, not fairness. Boundaries, when enforced calmly, expose truths people would rather avoid. Stories like this linger because they mirror choices we face daily. Whether to look away, speak up, or escalate tension for attention. Public spaces test empathy under pressure. They reveal character not in comfort but in conflict, where restraint is harder than reaction, and respect demands effort from everyone involved. These moments quietly define communities. Long after the noise fades and the cameras move on, leaving lessons that are rarely comfortable. This story isn't about winning or losing. It's about what we owe each other in shared spaces, and who pays the price when lines are crossed. The final chapter will confront that question directly, and it may challenge how you see yourself as a bystander. In the days that followed, the incident became a reference point, not just for the store, but for everyone connected to it. Employees talked about it during breaks, lowering their voices even though the woman was long gone. They shared past experiences, moments when customers crossed lines and no one intervened. For some, this incident reopened old frustrations. For others, it finally gave language to feelings they had buried under customer service smiles. The manager held a staff meeting, not to lecture but to listen. He asked a simple question: what did this make you feel? The answers were hesitant at first. Fear, anger, relief that someone finally said something. Guilt for staying silent. These weren't dramatic responses. They were human ones. The meeting ended with a clearer protocol and something less official but more powerful: permission to support each other openly. Meanwhile, customers continued discussing the video online. Some admitted they'd changed their minds after seeing the full footage. Others refused to back down, arguing that public spaces should tolerate all behavior. That debate revealed a deeper divide. Was politeness optional? Were rules oppression, or were they the thin framework holding shared life together? The employee became more aware of his surroundings. He noticed how often people tested limits, raised voices, demanded exceptions. He also noticed small kindnesses. A customer thanking him for handling things calmly. Another saying, "I saw what happened. You did the right thing." These moments didn't erase the stress, but they balanced it. What stood out most was how quickly strangers felt entitled to judge from fragments. A few seconds of footage replaced full context. Emotion replaced patience. This wasn't unique to this store. It was a symptom of a culture that rewards outrage more than understanding. Public behavior doesn't exist in isolation. It ripples outward, shaping how safe people feel at work, how willing they are to intervene, how communities define respect. When lines are crossed and no one responds, that silence teaches something too. It teaches that disruption wins. The store eventually moved on, but the lesson remained. Boundaries are not cruelty. Calm enforcement is not aggression, and discomfort is sometimes the price of maintaining spaces where everyone can exist without fear. As this story approaches its end, one question remains unresolved. What responsibility do we carry? Not as employees or managers, but as witnesses. In the final chapter, we'll step back and examine the role of the bystander, the quiet power of choice, and what moments like this ask of all of us when public behavior crosses the line. The final truth of this incident doesn't belong to the woman, the employee, or even the store. It belongs to the space between them, the shared ground where strangers coexist and silently agree to certain limits. That space is fragile. It survives only when people respect it, and it fractures when someone decides their emotions matter more than everyone else's presence. As viewers, it's easy to pick sides, to label one person wrong and another right. But real life is rarely that simple. The woman believed she was asserting herself. The employee believed he was protecting order. The manager believed he was balancing safety and business. The customers believed whatever aligned with their own experiences. Each perspective felt justified from the inside. What makes this incident important is not the argument itself, but the reaction to it. The phones that came out, the silence that followed, the comments typed without context. Public behavior today doesn't end when the moment passes. It follows people home, into algorithms, into reputations that can't defend themselves. The bystanders held more power than they realized. A calm voice early on might have softened the situation. Collective support for respectful behavior could have shut down escalation, or indifference could have allowed it to grow unchecked. Every choice, including doing nothing, shaped the outcome. This is the uncomfortable part. We like to believe conflict belongs to other people, that it's safer to stay out of it. But shared spaces only function when enough people care about how they're used. Silence feels neutral, but it often sides with the loudest voice. The employee returned to his routine, but with a sharper awareness. The manager updated policies, but also trust. Customers carried the story into future interactions, whether consciously or not. And the woman? She moved on to another place, another moment, another test of boundaries. Patterns repeat when lessons are ignored. When public behavior crosses the line, it asks a question of everyone present. What kind of environment do we want to live in? One ruled by impulse and intimidation, or one guided by mutual restraint? The answer isn't written in policies alone. It's written in everyday reactions, in small decisions, in moments when no one is officially in charge. This story ends here, but the situation doesn't. It plays out daily in stores, buses, streets, and comment sections. The next time you witness it, remember this incident. Remember that respect isn't passive. It's practiced,